Hi, this is Mordechai Becher, and welcome to the Gateway's Parsha vlog. This week's Parshat Vayeira, we have the naming of Yitzchak. Really, Hashem, God, tells Abraham and Sarah to name their son Yitzchak. What does Yitzchak mean? Literally, it means he will laugh. It's a strange name to give someone. And some of the commentaries point out that the idea of Yitzchak, Isaac, the ancestor of the Jewish people, being called laughter is because really there's an absurdity to the history of the Jewish people, meaning we always seem to teeter on the edge of death and of extinction, and yet immediately after that we have an explosion very often of Jewish learning and Jewish study and Jewish creativity. Right after the Inquisition, very soon after, we had a period that started of what's called the Kovim, people who wrote the halachic conclusions, Code of Jewish, the Tur, Rabbi Yosef Karo, Code of Jewish Law, Rabbi Moshe Isserles, etc. After the Chmelnytsky pogroms and the tragedy of Shabtai Tzvi, the false Messiah, we had the rise of the Hasidic movement. An amazing innovation and incredible inspiration to so many of the Jewish people. And so many times, right after the destruction of, I'm going backwards chronologically, but right after the destruction of the Second Temple, we had the writing down of the Mishnah only 100 years after, little after the failed Bar Kokhba revolt, the writing of the Mishnah. So it's an incredible thing. If you go to Jimmy the Greek, that guy used to take bets on everything. If you go to him and give odds as to what the survival of the Jewish people, odds for the survival of the Jews are at every event in history, he'd probably say close to zero. You'd probably, if you'd bet on the survival of the Jewish people, you'd make a lot of money with him because your odds would be very, very low. And yet, nevertheless, this is what happens. So that's what laughter is. Laughter is something's going this way and then boom, it turns in a different direction. There's an absurdity to it, and perhaps that's the idea of the absurdity of Jewish history. Yitzchak also means that he will laugh, and we have a vision of the future when it says in Shir HaMa'alos, beautiful psalm King David wrote, "Az yimales chokpinu." Then in the future, yimales chokpinu, the laughter of our mouths will be full. When we see the redemption, we'll be laughing. When the Jews came back to Israel after the Babylonian exile and they saw Jerusalem rebuilt, the temple rebuilt, people laughed. We were joyous. I'm sure when, I've met people who survivors of the Holocaust. They came to Israel when the state was announced, independence of Israel, 1948. People just didn't know what to do. They laughed, they cried. It was Az Yimales Chokpinu. It was an amazing feeling. 1967, when Jews came to the Kotel, the Western Wall, Koisel, right after the Six-Day War, and Daven there was an amazing feeling of laughter, of exuberance. We have not yet experienced the total of Az Yimales Chokpinu. Then our mouths will be full of laughter because there's always been pain in these victories. There's been some pain in these partial redemptions. It has not been a complete redemption, Geula Shlema. But in the future we look towards that, and that's the Yitzchak. We will laugh, and that's a faith that has taken the Jewish people through that incredible absurdity. Also, the word Yitzchak is composed of the same letters as Kates Chai, means the end of life. Yitzchak came to the very end of life. The knife was on his throat at the sacrifice of Isaac. He is basically almost as if his ashes are lying there on the altar and he's risen up out of those ashes, as the Midrash puts it. And so that's also the Jewish people. We are at the end of life, meaning we live beyond life, beyond death. We live beyond probability. And maybe that's the idea of Yitzchak. There's another possibility as well, which is the Jewish people have this incredible capacity of happiness, of simcha. Even in the most incredible and tragic of circumstances, we have the ability to renew and to laugh and to have simcha and to have joy. Perhaps the proliferation of Jewish comedians throughout history, and certainly now in the United States. Of course, there were not a lot of comedians throughout history, but Jewish laughter, Jewish jokes, Jewish sense of humor has been actually a feature of Jewish life, as Rav Hirsch points out, since the very time we came out of Egypt. That ability to laugh, that ability to have joy and to have simcha no matter what, is also something which has kept the Jewish people going tremendously. So when Abraham and Sarah called their son Yitzchak, he will laugh, they called him laughter, they called him beyond life. That's really prophetic in terms of what the Jewish people are. We are the people who, number one, there's an absurdity to our existence. We live beyond probability. Number two, we live beyond life and death. We are eternal, the eternal people. Number three, we will experience a redemption when we will fully laugh in the future, Yitzhak, and we have that faith that has kept us going. And in addition, we have the ability, even before the redemption, we have that ability to laugh and to be happy and joyous no matter what. So that's the idea of Yitzchak, a couple of ideas behind Yitzchak, and everyone should have a great Shabbos. This is Mordechai Becher with the Gateway's Parsha vlog. Thank you.